In this third part of my Perforce series, I'm going to show you how to set up a Perforce Depot on a networked machine and access it from another machine on the same network.
Hey, welcome to Real Time Workflows. I'm MX Bell. I worked on Deadpool and Wolverine, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, 1917, Hobbs and Shaw, Wheel of Time, Little Mermaid, No Time to Die, tons more. What you're going to get in the channel are my pro tips and how I use Unreal Engine to make films. So let's get started. Let's make some stuff. See you down the road.
Welcome back to Real Time Workflows. Right, so we covered Perforce and how it's used and integrates within Unreal Engine in part 1, and then in part 2 we covered Perforce One, which is kind of a very basic, rudimentary visual UI version of version control. Let's carry on, and now we will look at the Perforce proper, setting it up and getting it to work on a networked system. So I've got my Mac Mini under here, and just for reference, it's always on, and in order to enable that, I've got HDMI kind of dummy in the HDMI port, and I've got a mouse wiggler in the USB port. That just makes sure the Mac stays on. I think the Mac's trying to be too clever for itself. There's the fact that I've got various things on it that to stay awake, it does kind of close itself down. So I leave that kind of on. If you're using Windows, you can use Power Toys to make it stay awake. And to be honest, I'm a Mac guy, but after fighting with that Mac stay awake and having to buy a fucking mouse wiggler for it, I'd rather just have a basic Windows PC that has Power Toys on and just stays awake. You do you, whatever you think to do. The other thing to note is that you can do this on a NAS drive, but I don't have one. I should point out as well that I am completely self-taught when it comes to this. And this is just how I figured it out. It took a lot of tinkering and trial and error. It's probably not the perfect setup. There's probably better ways to do it. If you know of a better way, feel free to leave in the comments and I'll bring them up and make sure people are aware of them. But for now, let's get it stuck in. We're gonna go to onto the MacBook. This is just because it's a clean Mac, not the Mac Mini that's already got all this stuff installed, just so I can demonstrate what we're doing and why.
Alright, first thing we need to do is go and get the root files. We're going to Google Perforce P4V download. Come to the downloads folder. And we scroll down until we find P4. Here it is. I apologise for the quality of this recording. I didn't realise that OBS on the Mac was recording at such a low resolution. But we're not going to be on the Mac for very long. We'll get back to the usual quality now. We fill in that form and hit download. Okay, so here they are. And we're going to come up here to go to folder, and we're going to go to user, local, and bin. And then we're going to drop these files into here. So you can see now here I've made a Perforce Depot folder in the users documents folder. We need to make sure we've got that. We know what that location is, and we're going to get a terminal window, and we're going to type P4D space -r-r, whichever way around you want it, / location of our Perforce Depot folder that we just made. In our case here, it's users / Martin Bell / Perforce Depot, and then -p space 1666. This text will be in the description below if you want to copy it out. So the next we need to do is give the server a static IP address. So we come to our network settings, our Wi-Fi settings, our network in general on Windows. Come to TCP IP, configure IPv4, and if this should be set to DHCP, make sure it's set to manual now, and give it an IP address with the last numbers between 0 and 255. This one had been dynamically assigned 214, so I knew that one was safe and not used by anything else, so I took 214, which is probably the best thing to do. Now we're going to download and install P4V. So go back to the downloads and scroll down, and we'll find P4 Visual Client. We can go try free. We're going to specify which version that we want. In this case, it's for the Mac, and hit download. And then we run it on the Mac. I made a P4 folder in my applications folder to house these files, and we just drop them in. And the first thing we're going to do is run P4V for the first time. So now we're going to open it up, and we're going to change Perforce 1666 to localhost 1666. When you connect to this from your workstation, it will be the IP address of this machine. We're going to hit new user, give yourself a username and a password if you want, and add your email address, and click OK. Right, now let's create a depot. So we'll create a new depot, and we're going to give it a logical name by opening P4 admin, and we'll connect with the same settings and credentials that we just made. Okay, and here it is. It's going to ask you if you want to be a super user. You need to say yes. Obviously, you want to be a super user. Okay, we're going to go to depots, and we are going to go to the menu at the top and click Create New Depot. Give it a name that makes sense. Click OK, then click OK again. And that's a depot made.
Let's just clarify what a stream is. A stream is effectively a branch, like we saw with the P4 thing. So it allows you to silo separate parts. So for example, a development team might use one stream, and another team might use another one. Typically, we've had streams for on projects. We've had streams for development, and then the live stage team might have a separate stream to work in. That's all it is. For our purposes, I just create a mainline stream and I leave it there.
So we jump back to P4V on the server, and we're going to add this stream graph tab, and we can right click in this box here and go new stream. You see the first thing we need is a mainline one, so we can type main and hit OK. And then we don't want to populate this. We don't need to do that, so just hit cancel. All right, the next thing we're going to do is create a workspace. So let's jump back over to the workstation. Right, we're back on the workstation and nice HD feed now. We're going to go to our workspaces tab and hit new workspace. This is going to be the name of the folder in which the Unreal project lives. So give it a constructive name. You'll see that it automatically updates the location it's been stored in. Make sure that's correct for yourself and where you want to keep this. Then we're going to go to our streams, click browse, find the stream that we just made and click OK. You can check that it's there. That's all good, and hit OK. Now, if that stream already had information, you were creating a workspace on a new machine, and the stream actually had data, this is where you would go get latest, and it will go and download all the files. Now we're creating a new empty workspace here, so there's no reason to do that. Okay, and the next thing we're going to do is add some files to this workspace.
So before we do that, we need to make what's known as a P4 ignore file. This is a text file with no name and the extension P4 ignore. And all it is a list of files that we don't want to put onto the Perforce Depot. And these are generally files that Unreal is generating, things that the individual users are saving that we don't want to be filling up the depot, because they're going to be generated anyway. So we don't need them, but you can customize this yourself. I'll put this P4 ignore file into the description below, and it goes in the project root. And from there, we can move on.
Like with P4 there's a couple of ways to get files into the workspace and get them copied to the depot. The first one is to, as we did with P4 we can copy files in, and Perforce will find them, and we can mark them for add, like we did in the last video, and we can send them over. So let's just take a look at doing that just real quickly. If I go to my, if I take my starter project and my content and config folders, I'm going to copy and paste them into here. Okay, up here we can come into Perforce and we can hit refresh, and we see here now that they are there, and we can right click and we can go mark for add. We'll go new, change list, and we'll put initial upload. Hit OK. That creates us a change list with all those files in, and we will go submit. So that's how we copy our Unreal files into a fresh workspace that we've created. Now, What if we've got a fucking massive Unreal project that we want to get into Perforce and we don't want to duplicate it by doing that? We want to create a workspace that's inside an existing Unreal project. Okay, so I've added a new depot very quickly. We'll just call it sample 2, and we will go to stream graph. So sample 2, a new stream name main. Click OK. We do not need to populate it with anything. And now we will go to a new workspace. Now the workspace root is going to be the root of the folder with our Unreal project in. All right, so let's go find an Unreal project we can do it with. Let's do it in vehicle project. So I'm going to take this, take the address, and we're going to put it in here, and we'll call this. So now when we change this, the important thing to know it's working is that when we change what's up here, it changes the path, but the path's correct. And then in our stream, we're going to create a sample 2 main. We know that's where we want it. Okay, and we'll hit OK. Do we want it says the folder exists and it's not empty. Do you want to choose a workspace? We say at a different location. Say no. All right, and now instantly, look, our workspace has got stuff in it. We need to we'll need to put a P4 ignore in there. So I'll just copy a P4 ignore into there, just so we've got one in. And hit refresh because we don't want to be sending anything that's unnecessary. And so what we need to do really is we just need to go right click, mark for add. We can just add this to default change list as well. So we click OK. And now all our files are all in here ready to be added to this project, and we can then just hit submit. That's how we use an existing Unreal project and get that into Perforce. Now, the important thing to know, however, is that once we've done that, what we need to do is let Unreal Engine know that we are using version control. So Unreal Engine has started, and what we're going to do is we're going to come down to here at the bottom right where it says revision control. And we're going to connect to revision control. We're going to tell it that we're using Perforce. Okay, and we're going to give it our IP address. And then if that's correct and everything's working, we should be able to drop this down and our workspace should appear here. And we click accept. And now this checkbox has come on. And we can see that all our files here are marked for add. And that is it. Now you can carry on. You can make changes in Unreal Engine and you can do all the stuff that we were talking about in lesson 1. One last thing, so the final thing that I want to cover is creating a new workspace from an existing depot. We're not initializing a depot, we're going to create a new workspace from one that already exists on the drive. And to do that, I'm going to connect to my main Perforce Depot, which is this one. Now we can see there are several things happening here, several projects that have been stored. Now, if I wanted to create a new workspace and create a new copy of one of these, we'll say it's Viz Tools. I'm gonna go to Workspace. I'll drop this down and say New Workspace. We are going to choose we're gonna say, okay, Viz Tools. Viz Tools 4625. We're going to choose our stream, so it's Viz Tools main. Okay, we're going to hit OK. That will create that project there, and then we're just going to hit this and hit Get Latest, and that will then download all the files in that in the depot to my workspace for me to then work on and finally submit back to the depot. So that is how to set up a local network version of Perforce with multiple computers. As I say, you can do it with a NAS. I don't have one. So if you want to do that, then maybe it's something we can look at another time. But that's how we do it, and I find it an extremely useful part of my workflow now, and I recommend it highly. So if you've got any questions, again, we're going to be collating them and I'll try and answer them. I'll try and bring an expert on and we can answer some questions and get some questions answered together. But for now, Please like, subscribe, comment, rate, and whatever it is, whatever bullshit you have to do. And I'll see you down the road.